Good evening, I'm Tucker Carlson. Tonight we bring you a developing story that has sent shockwaves through the intelligence communities of at least 3 continents. New evidence suggests a coordinated, long-term strategic shift within the Islamic Republic of Iran that could fundamentally alter the security architecture of the Middle East. The stakes could not be higher, as this development threatens to draw the United States and Israel into a confrontation unlike any we have seen in decades. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe and stay informed. In times of global uncertainty and shifting allegiances, reliable information matters more than ever. The world is changing rapidly, and understanding the truth behind these headlines is the only way to stay ahead of the curve. Now, let's look at the facts of this emerging international crisis. For months, satellite imagery and intercepted communications have pointed toward an unusual level of activity within Iran's most sensitive military installations. While the world's attention has been fractured by domestic politics and various regional skirmishes, Tehran has been quietly consolidating its asymmetric capabilities. According to international observers and high-ranking intelligence officials, this is not merely a routine exercise or a display of regional bravado, data released this week shows a significant uptick in the movement of advanced ballistic hardware toward the country's western borders. Let's take a closer look at what is actually happening on the ground in the region. Public records indicate that Iranian state spending on special projects has increased by nearly 30% over the last fiscal quarter. This surge in funding coincides with a series of closed-door meetings between Iranian military leadership and their proxy affiliates across the Levant. Analysts suggest that the goal is the creation of a unified command structure designed to overwhelm integrated air defense systems. The data tells a concerning story about the technical sophistication now being deployed by the Revolutionary Guard. Historically, the threat from Iran was viewed through the lens of conventional maritime disruption or localized insurgent support. However, experts warn that the current trajectory involves a saturation strategy intended to bypass the Iron Dome and Aegis systems simultaneously. This is not just a regional issue. It is a direct challenge to the global doctrine of deterrence that has held for years. In the United States, officials confirmed earlier today that they are monitoring these developments with what they call heightened vigilance. The Pentagon has reportedly redirected several carrier strike group assets to ensure freedom of navigation remains uncompromised in the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, across Europe, diplomatic channels are buzzing with the realization that the previous framework of containment may no longer be sufficient. Global markets reacted immediately to the news, with energy futures seeing a sharp spike as traders price in the risk of a kinetic escalation. Since the financial crisis of 2008 and the subsequent shifts in global energy dependence, the Middle East has remained a volatile but manageable variable. Over the past decade, the strategy of the West has been to utilize economic sanctions to curb Iran's regional ambitions and nuclear aspirations. Yet, current developments indicate that Tehran may have found ways to circumvent these pressures through alternative shadow banking networks. By leveraging partnerships with other sanctioned nations, Iran has managed to maintain a robust supply chain for its domestic missile program. Let me explain why this matters to you. Regardless of where you are watching from tonight, the modern world relies on a fragile web of maritime trade routes and technological infrastructure that Iran is now positioning itself to threaten. If the reported secret plan involves the deployment of hypersonic components, the reaction time for defensive measures drops from minutes to mere seconds. This reduction in the margin for error increases the likelihood of a miscalculation that could lead to a full-scale international conflict. On the ground, descriptions from the border regions of Iraq and Syria suggest a massive buildup of logistical hubs. Local residents have reported seeing convoys of unmarked heavy transport vehicles moving under the cover of darkness toward the Golan Heights. Intelligence sources indicate these convoys are carrying precision guidance kits that can turn unguided rockets into lethal, targeted munitions. The intent seems clear: to create a ring of fire that can be ignited at a moment's notice against Israeli population centers. Israeli officials have responded with characteristic resolve, stating that they will not allow a noose to be tightened around their neck. The Israeli Air Force has increased its sortie rate over the past 72 hours, conducting what they describe as preemptive reconnaissance. There is a growing sense in Jerusalem that the window for a diplomatic solution is closing faster than anyone previously anticipated. The question now is whether the United States will be forced to intervene directly to protect its primary ally in the region. According to analysts who have studied the Iranian regime for decades, this move is a calculated gamble by the hardliners in Tehran. They perceive a vacuum in global leadership and believe that the West is too distracted by internal divisions to mount a cohesive response. This perception of weakness is perhaps the most dangerous element of the entire geopolitical equation we are looking at today. History shows us that when a revisionist power feels it can act with impunity, the cost of eventually stopping them rises exponentially. Let's consider the historical context of similar escalations in the 20th century. Whenever a regional power has sought to dominate a vital resource corridor through clandestine military buildup, the result has been catastrophic. The lead-up to the 1967 war and the tensions of the 1973 oil embargo offer sobering reminders of how quickly regional issues go global. We are seeing the same patterns of rhetoric, the same mobilization of proxies, and the same failure of international bodies to intervene. You need to understand that this is about more than just a specific piece of territory or a religious disagreement. It is about the fundamental principle of international stability and the rules that govern how nations interact with one another. When a state actor chooses to operate in the shadows, utilizing secrecy to prepare for aggression, it undermines the very concept of transparency. Without transparency, there can be no trust, and without trust, the mechanism of global cooperation completely breaks down. The global lesson here is one of accountability and the dangers of ignoring early warning signs. For years, warnings about the expansion of the land bridge from Tehran to the Mediterranean were dismissed as alarmist by many in the media. Now, those same critics are facing a reality where that land bridge is fully operational and, bristling with advanced weaponry, the cost of inaction is now being tallied in the high-stakes rooms of power from Washington, D.C. to Brussels. We must also look at the economic consequences of this tension as it continues to build. The global economy is currently in a delicate state of recovery, dealing with inflationary pressures and supply chain vulnerabilities. Any disruption in the Middle East would send shockwaves through the global manufacturing and transport sectors almost instantly. A rise in oil prices would act as a regressive tax on every citizen in the world, hitting the most vulnerable the hardest. As we move forward, the need for clear-headed, objective analysis has never been more vital for the public. The narrative being pushed by various state-run media outlets often obscures the true nature of the strategic movements on the board. Our task is to look past the propaganda and focus on the physical movements of troops, the flow of capital, and the hardening of positions. This is the only way to gain a realistic picture of what the coming months might hold for global security. In conclusion, the situation regarding Iran's secret preparations is a clarion call for a return to realism in foreign policy. The international community must decide whether it will continue to rely on outdated frameworks or adapt to a new era of multipolar competition. The evidence of a significant Iranian escalation is now too documented to be ignored or explained away as mere posturing. The implications for the United States, Israel, and the broader global order are profound and require immediate focused attention. We will continue to track these developments and bring you the latest intelligence as it becomes available to our team. The path ahead is fraught with risk, but informed citizens are the first line of defense against chaos and misinformation. It is essential to remain calm, stay focused on the facts, and understand the broader historical forces at play here. Only then can we hope to navigate the challenges of an increasingly volatile and unpredictable global landscape. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay aware, and we'll continue bringing you the facts as this story develops.